All right, God is good. 1 Kings 7. Let's call this one Proven Talent. And let's subtitle it Freedom, because in this chapter, once again, Solomon is going to recognize some talent that they are going to need that's going to come from outside of Israel. And he is going to have to give that talent the freedom to be what God created them to be. Understanding that, once again, we're going to see a man by the name of Hiram, but it's going to seem to be a different Hiram this time in the middle of the chapter, where at verse 13 it's going to read, "And King Solomon sent and brought Hiram from Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in bronze. And he was full of wisdom, understanding, and skill for making any work in bronze. He came to King Solomon and did all his work." And the chapter is going to go on from there to talk about all the works of bronze that Hiram made. And like the construction of the temple, we'll probably try to send a link that helps us get a better visual of what this actually looked like and what he actually worked on. But understand the chapter is split not only in the works of Hiram, which kind of forms the larger bit of the chapter in the middle, but it's also going to talk about how Solomon completed work on his own house. It's going to seem to be after the 7 years it took to build the temple, another 13 years, which is going to be 20 years that Solomon seems to have spent in building both the temple and the structures around it, meaning his home, his hall, and the hall for what seems to be his first wife, the daughter of Pharaoh of Egypt. And in spite of the portions of the chapter that talk about how he completed the building of his own personal dwelling places and halls and the furnishings of the temple that were built by Hiram, he's going to talk about the gold implements that were used inside the temple, especially in the holiest place of the temple. And so it's roughly how this chapter breaks down. But once again, it's not necessarily in just the construction that we find what I think might be the more valuable lessons, but I think this is another chapter that falls in line with that theme of being able to have not only a king or a leader who has given his insecurities over to God, but also setting the tone for a people. Because once again, like we noticed with the Sidonians, were there no timber cutters in Israel? No, but the timber cutters in Israel seem to be able to work well with the skilled timber cutters from Sidon. So that took a level of humility that allowed that team to build and thrive. Likewise here, this is not so much a team thing as much as it is Hiram being given room to work. And so there are times in our lives when we are hopefully trying to move toward the balance of being able to not only make room for skilled teams that can come in and work with us as a group, but also, God willing, skilled individuals without feeling threatened by the talents they bring to us. Understanding that in this chapter, it is not completely different from something I heard a man preach this week, J.D. Greer. I don't remember the title of his sermon. I'll try to link it though. But he talked about how John the Baptist counseled his servants after they began to see all the great things that Jesus was doing. He simply said, he must increase and I must decrease. And so understand, as we've mentioned, that Saul, seeming to fail at getting done in 40 years the things that God asked him to do because he never found the confidence to simply let David be David, is now a stark contrast to what we're seeing out of Solomon, who in a very short period of time is accomplishing great things that are going to change Israel forever by simply allowing Hiram to be Hiram. Much like John realized, you got to let Jesus be Jesus. And more importantly, nowadays in our times when Jesus is empowering us, because we each have a gift that's unique. No two gifts are alike, even though they all fall under general categories. There's nobody who can be you if you are fulfilling your potential. And to the degree you need room to work, God willing, you are finding environments that are actually encouraging you to be what God has empowered you to be. And likewise, to the degree you are having to find ways to fit in new talent, God willing, you are allowing your organization to grow by allowing people to be the fullness of what God is empowering them to be.